Evelyn Fisher Bamforth was born on March the 23rd, 1947, to Charles and Ethel Fisher. She had a brother Leonard and a sister Lorraine. A member of the Tzeachten First Nation, she attended Chilliwack Secondary School and graduated from the Riverview School of Psychiatric Nursing. Nursing was a career path Evelyn wanted to pursue, and her family couldn't be prouder. "We were all so proud of her becoming a nurse," said one family member. At that time, there weren't that many Indigenous nurses. She was a groundbreaker who paved her own way. Despite all the obstacles Indigenous people faced at the time, Evelyn was determined to succeed. Those who knew her described her as a beautiful, bright young woman who was fun, loving and caring, perfect for being a nurse. In 1969, Evelyn would meet her future husband, John Bamforth. They met in the Port Moody area when he was a bartender and she was working as a nurse. The couple began dating, but shortly after he was offered a job at a resort in the Grand Cayman Islands as a beverage manager, a job he couldn't refuse. Evelyn quit her job after 6 months and followed him. But after about a year she didn't feel like it was home, so she went to Miami, and 3 days later John followed her. They settled at Haven Lake Estates in a new mobile home park in the Miramar area, a suburb of Miami, and shortly after they got married. On January the 22nd, 1980, Evelyn was at her home recovering from a recent knee surgery and was alone asleep at her Haven Lakes Estate mobile home. Her husband John had gone out for the night, and a friend who was staying with the couple had also gone out. The friend was the first to arrive home, but had forgotten her keys, so knocked on the door of the couple's home. There was no response. After repeatedly knocking and getting no answer, she decided to call 911. Police attended and noticed one of the panes of glass next to the door had been broken. When they broke into the home, they found Fisher Bamforth bludgeoned to death. When John came home that evening, he was oblivious to what had happened. But when he arrived at the trailer, he saw police tape on their front door, advising no one was to enter. He had no idea what was going on, and entered anyway. Immediately he knew something was wrong. Furniture had been strewn about, and stuff was everywhere. The bed the couple shared was half soaked in blood. Law enforcement hadn't notified him or stayed at the crime scene, and it would only be when he went to the police department that he was notified that his wife had been murdered earlier that evening. He was given little details about what had happened and was devastated by the news. Early in the investigation, John was ruled out as a suspect. Investigators believed an intruder had broken into the property, probably while Evelyn was sleeping. Investigators determined she had been sexually assaulted before she was bludgeoned to death. Although investigators collected a foreign DNA sample, DNA technology in 1980 was nothing like it is today, so all they could do was wait and hope it would eventually come in useful. That day would not come until almost 4 decades later. The case would quickly go cold and remain that way until 3 years later. 2 months after the brutal killing, another horrific murder and sexual assault occurred in the nearby Volusia County. Eventually, police in that case had got their suspect and asked for local assistance to arrest the man. The MO in the other case was extremely similar to the Miramar case, and the person of interest in the other case was Ronald Richards, and he lived just 12 doors down from Evelyn Fisher. Furthermore, 32-year-old Ronald Eugene Richards was out on parole for manslaughter of his former girlfriend in 1975. Despite the similarities and the fact that Richards lived so close to Fisher, investigators lacked evidence. There was nothing they had that could tie him to the scene, and for more than 4 decades the murder had gone frustratingly unsolved. While the case was shelved in 1980, the assailant's DNA was on file, and Richards was a suspect. Over the years, homicide detectives would occasionally go back to it to see if there was anything more they could find, and in 2022 they did. Over the years, technology has evolved massively to the point where you are able to locate and trace small amounts of DNA, and in 2022 the evidence was enough, and Richards was indicted for sexual battery and murder. We are one step closer to justice for Evelyn, Miramar police tweeted on December the 1st, calling it the oldest case solved in the small Broward County city's history.